phone buzzed. I glanced at it, expecting another mundane notification. But what I saw froze me in place. A text from Ryan, my partner, sent to my best friend Emma. "I can't wait to see you tonight," just like before. My heart stopped. My mind raced. For a split second I didn't understand. Was I reading it wrong? Maybe it was just a joke, or maybe something else. My thoughts spiraled as the realization began to sink in. My breath caught in my throat, and I felt the world blur around me. They'd been seeing each other, behind my back, all along. The betrayal burned through my veins. Ryan, the man I trusted with my heart, was having an affair with my best friend. The one person I thought would always be there for me. The pain was suffocating. I had to confront them. Right now. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Just a single thought ran through my mind. How could they do this to me? Emma had always been my best friend. We'd shared everything, from childhood secrets to late-night talks about our hopes and dreams. I never could have imagined she'd be the one to betray me in the worst way possible. She knew how much I loved Ryan, how deep my trust ran for both of them. The idea of them together felt like a nightmare, but it was the only reality I could grasp at that moment. My heart thudded painfully in my chest as the door opened, and there she was, the woman I had trusted most in my life, standing there with a guilty look on her face. "What is this, Emma?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "How long has this been going on?" Emma's eyes flickered to the floor, her lips parting as if to speak, but no words came out at first. I never meant for this to happen," she finally whispered, her voice shaky and strained. "I didn't plan this, Grace. It just happened." Her words felt like daggers, each one stabbing deeper into the trust we'd once shared. I couldn't believe it. "You didn't plan it?" I retorted, my anger rising like a tidal wave. "You slept with him, Emma. My boyfriend. My best friend." My voice cracked, the pain of betrayal flooding through me. I had always believed in the bond between us, never questioning it. Yet here she was, standing in front of me, offering weak excuses. How could she even try to justify this? How could she not see that her actions had destroyed everything we had? The silence between us was suffocating. "How long, Emma?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, as the weight of the question crushed me. She didn't answer immediately. Her silence spoke volumes. It felt like the world was spinning, and I was just waiting for something solid to grab onto. 3 months, she finally confessed, her voice barely audible. "It started after you had that big project. I didn't know how to stop it. 3 months. 3 months of lies, deceit, and stolen moments." My world came crashing down in that single admission. My head was spinning, my heart breaking in ways I never thought possible. Emma, the person I had trusted most, had been my betrayer. "You're telling me it went on for that long?" I asked, my voice shaking with disbelief. "You didn't even think to tell me, to stop it, to tell me the truth before it was too late?" The air between us was thick with tension. Emma's tears fell silently, but I couldn't bring myself to feel pity for her. How could I? I was the one left shattered, picking up the pieces of my life, while she cried over the mess she had created. "Why, Emma?" I asked, my voice raw and broken. "Why did you do it?" She looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears, but there was no real explanation. "I don't know," she sobbed. "I was lost. I thought if I just gave in, it would fix something. But it didn't. It made everything worse. I never wanted to hurt you." I shook my head, my heart pounding in my chest. "You've destroyed me," I whispered, feeling my world crumble further. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this." It was the hardest thing I had ever said. I didn't know what to do now, didn't know how to move forward. After everything had been said, the silence in the room felt suffocating. Emma's apologies had fallen on deaf ears. No amount of words could undo the damage she had caused. I stood there, numb, trying to grasp what had just been laid before me. I had loved Ryan with everything I had. He was my world, my partner, my safe place. And Emma, she had been my best friend, my sister, in every way that mattered. But now, I was left standing here, lost in the ruins of what I thought was a life I understood. There was no comfort in knowing the truth, no solace in the reality of their betrayal. I had trusted them both, and now, that trust was shattered beyond repair. I felt the tears well up again, but I fought them back. I wouldn't let them see me break. "How could you do this to me?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. "I gave you both everything." As I turned away from Emma, the weight of what had just happened seemed to crush me with every step. The anger, the hurt, it all swirled inside me like a storm. But there was something deeper than that, something I hadn't expected to feel. Betrayal always stings, but this felt like a part of me had died. I had given my heart to Ryan, trusted him with everything, only to find out that he had betrayed me with the one person who knew my every fear, every hope. The quiet hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in the room as I sat down on the couch, my hands trembling as I gripped the fabric. The truth was suffocating. How did I not see it? How did I not realize the cracks in our relationship before they shattered everything? I closed my eyes and tried to breathe through the ache in my chest, but it wouldn't stop. The images of Ryan and Emma together kept flashing in my mind. I remembered the late nights, the whispered conversations, the shared smiles, all of it now tainted. How long had it been going on? Was it one night, or had it been something more? I wanted to know, but a part of me was afraid. If I knew, it might break me completely. And yet, I couldn't stop myself from needing to know every detail. How could I have been so blind? I asked myself, my voice hoarse. How could I not see what was happening right in front of me? But even as I questioned myself, I knew deep down that the real blame lay with them, not me. Still, the doubt crept in. Was I not enough for him? Was I not enough for either of them? I didn't want to think about it anymore. I didn't want to feel the weight of their betrayal crushing me any longer. But I couldn't escape it. My mind kept circling back to Ryan and Emma, replaying the moments I had with them, now stained by the knowledge of their lies. Every touch, every look, every time they said they loved me felt hollow now. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but all I could do was sit there and process the hurt, piece by piece. I couldn't stop the tears anymore. They came, and they kept coming, as though my body was trying to expel the betrayal from my very being. But even as the pain overwhelmed me, I knew I had to make a choice. Would I let this destroy me, or would I find the strength to move forward? I stood up from the couch and walked to the window, gazing out at the night. The sky was dark, and the streetlights outside cast long shadows across the sidewalk. I wondered if Ryan and Emma were together now, if they were laughing and enjoying the betrayal they'd shared. It made me sick to think about it, but I couldn't stop myself. As much as I wanted to shut them out, I knew I had to face this. I had to confront the truth, no matter how painful. I will not let them take everything from me, I whispered to myself. I deserve better than this. It wasn't about getting revenge or punishing them. It was about reclaiming my own strength, my own life. I wouldn't let them define who I was. I would rise from this, no matter what it took. I couldn't shake the thoughts of Ryan and Emma. Everywhere I looked, everything reminded me of them. The photos, the places we'd visited together, even the songs we used to play. I couldn't escape the flood of memories. I had trusted them both, and now, all of it was tainted. I avoided Ryan's calls, but they kept coming. I couldn't bring myself to pick up. Each time my heart would race with a mix of anger, hurt, and confusion. "Grace, I need to talk to you," his voice echoed in my mind. But I couldn't bring myself to face him. The thought of seeing him again, of hearing him try to justify his actions, made my skin crawl. What was there left to say? Everything had already been said. I knew what he had done. What more could he possibly offer? There was no room for excuses. The days dragged on, each one feeling heavier than the last. I couldn't avoid them forever. Eventually, I ran into Emma in the grocery store. My heart skipped a beat when I saw her standing there in the aisle with her back to me. I froze, unsure of how to handle the situation. She hadn't called, hadn't apologized in person. She hadn't made any effort to reach out or explain. Seeing her now, it was as if nothing had changed. She looked the same, wore the same smile, but I knew better. She wasn't the person I thought she was. When she turned around and saw me, her face softened, but there was no real warmth in it. "Grace, I've been meaning to talk to you," she began, but I cut her off. "Don't," I said, my voice cold. "I don't want to hear it." I didn't give Emma the chance to say more. The words had already been spoken, and there was nothing left to fix. "I trusted you," I said, barely above a whisper. "I thought we were family, but you've ruined that." My chest tightened as I walked away, leaving Emma standing there watching me with helpless eyes. The sting of betrayal was still fresh, but I couldn't let her see how much it hurt. I couldn't let anyone see that weakness. I didn't know if I could forgive her, but I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I had to make some hard decisions about what came next. It wasn't just about Ryan anymore. It was about reclaiming my life. Later that evening, as I sat alone in the quiet of my apartment, I couldn't stop thinking about everything. Ryan's face, Emma's face, they both haunted me. How had I missed the signs? How had I let this happen? I needed answers, but part of me was afraid of what I might find. What if the affair had been going on longer than I thought? What if it wasn't just physical? The thought of it crushed me. It wasn't just the betrayal of my partner. It was the betrayal of my trust, my love, my entire belief in everything I had built with them. I had let my walls down, and now they were paying the price. I wanted to scream, to cry, but all I could do was sit in silence. It felt like my heart was being torn into pieces, slowly and painfully. The next morning, I found myself standing outside of Ryan's apartment. I wasn't sure what I expected to find, but I had to see him. I had to hear him say something, anything, to explain how this had happened. My heart raced as I rang the doorbell, and when he opened the door, I saw the guilt in his eyes. "Grace, we need to talk," he began, but I cut him off before he could say anything more. "I already know everything," I replied, my voice shaky but firm. "I know what you did." Ryan's expression faltered, and I could see the regret in his eyes. But it didn't matter. Nothing he said could change what had already happened. "I don't want excuses," I said, my voice quiet, but resolute. "I want the truth." I stood there, staring at Ryan, waiting for him to speak, but the words never came. His silence was worse than any lie he could have told. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to process everything. And was this really happening? Had everything been a lie? "You knew," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "You knew how much I trusted you, and you let me believe in this fantasy. You let me think I was the only one." Ryan shifted uncomfortably, but no apology came. Instead, his gaze dropped as if he couldn't meet my eyes. And that's when it hit me. The way he was acting, the guilt in his eyes. It wasn't just about Emma. There was something more. "What are you not telling me, Ryan?" I demanded, feeling a chill run through me. There was something else beneath all this, a secret I hadn't even begun to uncover. Ryan hesitated for a moment, and then he spoke, his voice low and shaky. I never wanted you to find out like this," he said. "I was going to tell you eventually. I didn't know how." I shook my head in disbelief. "Tell me what, Ryan?" I asked, my voice rising. "That you've been lying to me for months? That you've been betraying me with my best friend?" I was angry, but more than that, I was hurt. Deeper than I had ever been hurt before. "It wasn't just a fling," Ryan said quietly, his voice barely audible. It was more than that. Emma, she's been more than just a friend to me." My stomach dropped as I realized what he was implying. There was no coming back from this. "What do you mean more than a friend?" I asked, dreading the answer. I love her, Grace," he finally confessed. I've loved her for a long time. I felt the air leave my lungs as his words hung in the air. You love her? I whispered, barely able to breathe. It was like a punch to the gut. How could this be happening? Ryan had been my everything, and now I learned that everything was a lie. I didn't want to hurt you, Ryan continued, his voice cracking. But I couldn't keep pretending. Emma. She means something to me. And I didn't know how to tell you. I wanted to scream, to hit him, to ask how he could do this to me, but all I could do was stand there, stunned. How long, Ryan? I asked, my voice thick with emotion. How long have you been in love with her? He hesitated for a moment, then replied, since before we even started dating. I felt the ground shift beneath me. The world felt unreal, like everything I had known was slipping through my fingers. I felt the anger rising inside me, but there was also a part of me that wanted to cry. The man I loved, the man I had trusted with my heart, had been hiding this from me. He had been lying, deceiving me for so long. I didn't know how to process it. Why, Ryan? I demanded, my voice trembling. Why did you even stay with me if you loved her? Why didn't you just end it? He opened his mouth to answer but closed it again. There were no words left. Nothing he could say would make it better. I don't know, he admitted finally, looking down. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you, but I couldn't stop what was happening with Emma. I let out a bitter laugh. So you lied to me for months? I shook my head in disbelief. You could have been honest with me. You could have told me the truth. But the truth felt like a slap in the face now. He was breaking me, and there was nothing left to hold on to. I couldn't look at him anymore. I couldn't stand to see him, the man I thought I knew, standing there broken, but not for the right reasons. I can't do this, I whispered, my voice cracking. I can't be here with you anymore. I took a step back, the pain of everything threatening to overwhelm me. Grace, please, Ryan pleaded, his voice desperate. I didn't want to hurt you. I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. You've already hurt me more than you'll ever know, I said, my voice trembling. I don't know who you are anymore, and I can't keep pretending. I turned away, walking out of the apartment, leaving him behind, shattered by his own lies. And as I walked away, I felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, I could rebuild my life. But that spark was small, buried beneath the ashes of my broken heart. The days after I left Ryan's apartment felt like I was walking through a fog. My emotions were a whirlwind of anger, sadness, and confusion, and I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. My world had been flipped upside down, and I was left to figure out what to do next. Then, it happened. Ryan showed up at my door. My heart sank when I saw him standing there, looking disheveled and desperate. Grace, please, he said, his voice shaking. I can't keep living with this guilt. I need to make things right. I stared at him, my mind racing with everything that had happened. Make things right? I echoed bitterly. How can you make this right? You destroyed everything. Our relationship. Our friendship. How do you fix that? The raw anger I had been holding back for days erupted. You can't just come back and expect everything to be okay, Ryan. Ryan stepped forward, his face pleading, his eyes filled with guilt. I don't know how I can fix this, Grace, but I need you to hear me out, he said, desperation in his voice. I've been a fool. I've hurt you in ways I never imagined, but please, just let me explain. I shook my head, my body trembling with the force of my emotions. Explain? I whispered harshly. Explain how you betrayed me with Emma. What could you possibly say that would make this better? Ryan dropped his head in shame. I was selfish, he admitted. I was scared of losing her, and I lost you instead. The words cut through me, each one like a knife. You had me, Ryan, I said, my voice breaking. I was always here, but you threw it all away. How do I ever trust you again? His silence was answer enough. There was nothing he could say that would undo the damage. I wanted to walk away, to slam the door in his face and never look back. But something kept me rooted to the spot, something deeper than anger or pain. A part of me still cared about him. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, I whispered, my voice trembling with emotion. You've broken me in ways I can't even explain. Ryan took a step closer, his hands trembling. Grace, I love you, he said, his voice soft. I've always loved you. His words should have meant something to me, but they felt empty now. How can you say that? I choked out. How can you love me and hurt me like this? His face twisted with emotion. I was stupid. I didn't know what I had until it was too late. I don't want to lose you, Grace. I wanted to believe him, to let him back into my heart, but the wound was too deep. You've already lost me, I said, my voice shaking with finality. Ryan stood there silently pleading with his eyes, but I couldn't look at him anymore. The truth was, I didn't need him to fix things. I had to fix myself. I had spent so long building my life around him, around us, and now I realized I had forgotten who I was without him. Grace, please, Ryan begged, his voice cracking. Don't shut me out. I shook my head, feeling the tears well up again. I'm not shutting you out, I said quietly. I'm just choosing me. I can't keep letting you destroy me. The realization hit me like a wave. For the first time in days, I felt the first stirrings of strength returning. I didn't need Ryan or Emma to feel whole. I needed to find my own way again. Goodbye, Ryan, I whispered, turning away, not looking back. The door clicked shut behind me, and in that moment, I knew I had made the hardest decision of my life. I walked down the hallway, each step heavy with the weight of everything I had just done. But as I reached the stairwell, something inside me shifted. I wasn't walking away as a victim. I was walking away as someone who would reclaim her life, no matter how painful the journey ahead would be. I had to find my way back to myself. The road ahead would be long, and there would be days when the pain would feel unbearable. But I knew one thing for certain: I was going to heal. I wasn't going to let them break me. I'll be okay, I whispered to myself, even though I didn't quite believe it yet. But I would be. One day, I would be okay. The days that followed were filled with silence. The kind of silence that seeps into your bones and makes you question everything. I spent my days focusing on work, keeping myself busy to avoid thinking about the empty space in my heart. It wasn't easy. Every time I closed my eyes, I could still see Ryan's face, still hear Emma's voice. But as the days passed, the pain dulled, just slightly. I started to feel like myself again, as if I could breathe without their weight hanging over me. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something close. I had started to forgive myself. The healing process wasn't linear. There were moments when the anger would come rushing back, or the sadness would threaten to swallow me whole. But I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't the person who would let this define me. One morning, I received a text from Emma. I had been dreading this moment, but when I opened it, there was no apology, no explanation. Just a simple line: "I'm sorry, Grace. I don't know how to fix this, but I want you to know I never meant to hurt you." The words felt hollow. There was no way to undo the damage. I stared at the screen for a while, unsure what to do with her message. Part of me wanted to reply, to make her understand how deeply she had hurt me. But then, I realized something. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her validation. I had already taken the first steps in healing by walking away. I deleted the message and turned off my phone. I didn't need her in my life anymore. It was a few weeks later that I bumped into someone new. I had joined a yoga class to clear my mind, and there he was. Jason, a kind and thoughtful man who didn't know my past, but listened to me as if I was the only one in the room. It felt strange at first to be open with someone again. But Jason didn't pressure me to tell him anything I wasn't ready to share. He simply offered his friendship. Over time, I found myself looking forward to our conversations, the easy way he made me laugh, the way he was patient with my silences. He didn't push me to move faster than I was ready to, and that made all the difference. I wasn't looking for anything, but I started to feel something again. Slowly, but surely, Jason showed me that there was more to life than the pain I'd been holding on to. As time went on, I began to see that there was still hope for me, not just for love, but for myself. I wasn't the same person I was before the betrayal. I had changed, grown stronger, and learned to trust myself again. I was no longer defined by the lies and the heartbreak. I realized that forgiveness didn't always mean reconciliation. I didn't have to make peace with Emma or Ryan to find peace within myself. I had already forgiven myself for the mistakes I'd made in holding on too long. I didn't need their approval or their love to feel whole. I was enough, just as I was. And that was the most liberating realization of all. One afternoon, I received a call from Ryan. I hadn't spoken to him since the day I left. It felt like a lifetime ago. Grace, his voice came through the phone, shaky but sincere. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know how much I regret what I did. I will always love you. His words were heavy with remorse, but I wasn't the same person I had been when I first heard them. I had already healed from the wound he had left. I didn't need his apology, and I didn't need him in my life anymore. Thank you for saying that, I replied softly. But I've moved on, and I think it's time for both of us to move forward. I hung up the phone, my heart lighter than it had been in months. It had been months since I had walked away from Ryan and Emma, and though the pain still lingered, I had found a new sense of peace. I had learned to trust myself again, to trust my instincts. There were moments when I still thought about them. How could I not? They had once been everything to me. But now, my life was filled with new faces, new experiences, and most importantly, new strength. It was the kind of strength that came from facing your worst fears and walking through the fire, knowing that you would emerge on the other side stronger than before. The worst thing had already happened. I had been betrayed in the worst way possible, but I had survived. I had thrived. One evening, as I sat at a small cafe, sipping my coffee, I overheard a conversation. Two women at the table next to me were talking about their own struggles with relationships, betrayal, and moving on. I listened quietly, not feeling the need to intervene, but something about their words hit me deep. I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive him, one of them said. How do you let go of something like that? I thought about the days when I felt the same. I had wondered if I would ever heal, if I would ever trust again. But now, I knew the answer. Forgiveness wasn't about them, it was about me. Forgiveness was a gift I gave to myself, not for their sake, but for mine. It was about letting go of the past to make space for something better. As I walked out of the cafe that day, I felt a quiet sense of closure. I no longer needed the validation from Ryan or Emma. They had no power over me anymore. I had reclaimed my life, and I was no longer afraid of moving forward. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in months, I was excited for it. There were days ahead filled with potential, and I was finally ready to face them with my heart open, my mind clear, and a newfound sense of self-worth. I knew I would be okay. I had already been through the worst, and I had come out stronger on the other side. A few weeks later, I met with Jason again. He was still a constant in my life, and for the first time I didn't feel the need to rush anything. We enjoyed simple conversations, quiet moments together. He never pressured me for anything more than I was ready to give, and I respected him for that. We had both learned to take things slow, to rebuild our lives after the pain we'd endured. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And that was enough. I didn't know where it would lead, but I was okay with that. I was learning to enjoy the journey, not just the destination. Life was unpredictable, and I had come to understand that sometimes the most beautiful things happen when you least expect them. As I stood by the window looking out at the stars, I realized how far I had come. I wasn't the same person I was when I first found out about the affair. I had been broken, devastated by the betrayal, but now I stood strong. The scars were still there, but they no longer defined me. I had learned to love myself, to trust in my own strength. The past would always be a part of me, but it no longer had control over my future. I was free, free to choose, free to heal, and free to move forward. I knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but for the first time in a long time, I was ready to face it with a heart full of hope and the knowledge that no matter what, I would always rise again.